Hey, Soul Warriors. This is Jessica Noel, and I'm coming at you with season 2, episode 4 of my podcast, Uncovering Your Authentic Soulful Self. And today, in season 2, episode 4, we're going to be talking about becoming the alchemist of your life, part 2. So it's a continuation of the last episode. So before we begin, let's do our usual where we take a minute. If you can close your eyes, go ahead and do that. Take a couple of deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. And see if you can drop the energy from your head, the thinking mind, down into your heart so that you can listen through your heart, as well as taking this information in through your mind. And so that you can also be open to the energies and frequencies that come through as we move forward in this conversation. Also take a minute and really feel your feet on the floor to ground yourself into this moment. So I want to talk about a lot of things that have been coming up for people in recent times. Last week we talked about, or the last episode we talked about becoming the alchemist in your life. And we discussed a lot of pieces of that, but there's a lot more pieces that have come forth to discuss. One of them is really being this idea of fairness. So fairness has been really circulating a lot for the collective, like what feels fair, what feels unfair. A lot of times when you're in a service-oriented industry, you might kind of stuff down that feeling of like, okay, I'm giving and giving and giving, and I'm not receiving equally. And if you keep stuffing that down because you go back to this higher mind of, okay, I'm here to serve though, and this is what I do, and this gives me happiness, there still could be a sense of unfairness there. So the solution for that is, again, like what we've talked about before, it's filling your own cup, making sure that you're doing everything that you need to do to feel like you're moving forward with a full cup. You're getting the healing that you need. You're getting the downtime and self-care that you need. Because remember, giving from a place of having a full cup, having a place of feeling like you have your vitality and your energy, you're not over giving, you're going to be the most impactful for not only those that you're serving, but for all of your family, friends, loved ones, and the people that you interact with just on a daily basis, even people like at the grocery store or somewhere in passing. So keeping yourself in a place of the full cup is going to be really important. So if you're not doing that, if you're finding yourself drained, over giving, if you're sensing like you're feeling like some things are unfair in your life or in your life situation, then start to look at, how can I give more to myself? What do I need to do to have that full cup? And make a plan to take some action in that direction. If you don't move forward with enough self-care and a full enough cup, what often happens is that you start moving forward and you bump into a trigger, right? You start to feel some sort of emotion arise based on some life situation that's happening. And so when you bump into that trigger and this life situation arises, then what's going to happen is that emotion is going to be so powerful because you haven't done all of the steps that you needed to make sure that you are in that full cup place, that it'll take over. So the whole idea of becoming an alchemist in your life is keeping that level of awareness, which does take a lot of energy. So you're keeping this level of awareness in your day-to-day life. You're being as present as possible so that you can catch the things that are coming up that are circling or looping for you to grow and evolve. So remembering that everything that's coming up in your life is happening for you, not to you. It's happening for your soul's evolution, and it will keep looping until you get whatever that is there to teach you, right? So with that context, if something comes up and it comes up with a strong emotion and you already have been drained because you're over giving or you're under receiving or maybe both, then again, that power of emotion is going to overpower it, and you're not going to be able to catch it in the moment or to move past the trigger, or even just to hold off on communication until the emotion has passed, which is very important in relationships. In my relationship class, we talk about that. Do not communicate when there's high emotions. That does not get anybody anywhere, right? There's not ever going to be resolution, but there's a part of you that wants resolution so bad that you want to communicate during those times. Need to wait until the emotion is cooled down or gone altogether, then have a communication. And at times, there's not even anything to communicate afterwards because it was something for you to work through. But other times it is a conversation is needed. But again, keeping yourself in this place of being filled up is going to allow you to be the master of your emotions, the master of your mind, right? So the mind, the thoughts are creating the emotions, and it will run away with you if you have not done enough giving to yourself and self-care. The other part I want to talk about next is a lot of times there's intellectualizing and judging others. What that is a redirecting of your emotions about a person or situation where you don't really want to feel what it is that's really inside of you. So what you do is you direct it or you project it outwards as blame or judgment on the other person. Okay, so let me say that again. So when you're intellectualizing something, you're going to the mental level rather than how it's making you feel. And you're putting this blame on someone else, you're judging them, you're blaming them because you're trying to move away from what you're really feeling, what the emotion is inside. So you're projecting it or you're blaming and redirecting that emotion onto them. So if you've ever found yourself doing something like preaching to somebody about what they're doing wrong, basically you're telling them they're wrong or they're unevolved or they're not getting the lesson. And you know, in a spiritual way, if you feel like you've come far in your journey and you're doing that, well, how far have you come? Because if you're preaching to people and you're trying to force a change where they're not ready to hear that, and really also you're having an emotion and you're not going to that place, then that's not where you want to be. You want to go into, here's how this is making me feel. Or perhaps just step back for a while and see what shifts, because remember, there's an alchemy. So the emotions can change over time if you give it a little bit of space. So you could even objectively be right where you're preaching and you're saying, you need to do this, you need to do that. Maybe you're even getting guidance like, oh, this is what they need to change, or this is what the situation is coming up for them to heal but that is not any of your business to say. What that's called is trespassing. If you are calling out what somebody needs to learn from a situation that's coming up without their permission, they're not asking you that opinion, and you're just starting to tell them, I'm getting this guidance about this, and you're having this trigger because you're supposed to learn this or that. That is trespassing on something they're supposed to learn and come to on their own, unless they're asking for your opinion or feedback, right? Otherwise, it's called trespassing. And that's something that you don't want to do. That's going to come back to you. That's the karma that we talked about, the cause and effect. That's not a healthy behavior. So that's not going to come back to you in a positive way. I'm not going to say it's going to cause any kind of damage, but it's not going to move you in the direction of a higher vibration or higher frequency. So you have to avoid trespassing on someone else's life journey. If they ask your opinion for guidance and so on, that's different. And you can go ahead and offer that. But otherwise, that's trespassing. And that's also your ego trying to take over and blame and judge and tell them all these things. And it might not even be clear guidance. It could even be distorted, especially if you're having an emotion that you're trying to redirect by intellectualizing and also using your spiritual guidance to pair with that. So what's really important is to go deep. It's not helpful for them when you do that, right? At all. It actually sends them the other way. So if they're supposed to learn what you're telling them, then they're actually going to put a block up to that. It's going to take them longer to get there. So it's going to actually harm their journey. The other thing is, it's not helpful to you. You need to go deeper into the emotions. There's hurt, there's feelings, there's pain about the situation. So what is that? And it's really important to just let all that pain in, let it all in and drop the bucket. So that's the term that I use, is drop the bucket into that well of pain, that well of fear, the well of emotion. What's there? So often we're resisting going into the emotion, going into the fear. We want to stay away from it. We want to let me find a different perspective. Let me not look at that. And there's so much of a resistance to it that's really the issue. Drop the bucket and see what the contents are. What's in there? I guarantee you that what you have in there at the bottom of that well with all those emotions and feelings is not nearly as scary as what it's making you feel, that what the resistance is making you feel. So the key to evolution and alchemizing these emotions is dropping the bucket into that well and saying, what are all these feelings? What is this? And it takes courage and strength, but you can do it. And that's what you're meant to be doing. That's how you can alchemize it. And then always go back to love. Okay. Anytime you're getting triggered or you're projecting blame or judging somebody, there's something in you, there's a feeling and emotion in you that's getting triggered. Drop the bucket, ask yourself, what is this about? And again, always go back to love. There's this meditation I learned from a book many years ago. I think it might be called How to Love Yourself. And then there's like a little side note, and others too. I'm pretty sure that's the name of it. But she talks about this meditation, and it's basically you sit there and you get into a meditative place and you ask yourself, where has my love not yet reached? And you ask yourself that over and over. Where has my love not reached? So everybody might have a different experience with that, but you might want to try that meditation because that can really get you deeper into, gosh, what are all these beliefs and feelings? What's in there that wants to come up for love, for you to love about yourself? The things that you're not loving about yourself or fully accepting, this meditation can help you to get there. Where has my love not yet reached? And then you pause and see what comes up. Maybe you get a sensation in the body. For me, I would get a whole sort of story of maybe a belief or maybe some guilt or whatever had happened, something that had happened. And then I would clear that. I would love that too. Yeah, you were in pain and you behaved that way because you were in pain. So again, this was many years ago, but there's a lot of ways that that might present itself for self-forgiveness, self-acceptance, self-love. Again, it's a meditation. You just ask yourself over and over with space in between, where has my love not yet reached? So I want to reiterate again, no blame. If you're blaming somebody else, this is a mirror for you. If you are triggered by someone or something, that is on you. That is your feelings. You must take responsibility for that. You cannot blame. You can blame, but that's not going to get you where you want to go. Because where you want to go is to the higher frequency and to evolving and joy and lightness and all of that. Blaming doesn't get you there. It's a low frequency, right? Blaming is not it. If you're blaming, it's because you're triggered by someone or something, and that's a mirror for you. What is this here in my life to teach me is your question. As soon as you start noticing, and it might take you a minute to notice that you're triggered and you're blaming, and that's okay. As soon as you catch it, then ask yourself, what is this here to teach me? What am I meant to learn from these feelings, and what are these feelings? Ask yourself what's coming up for you. Okay, so at first you're projecting and you're blaming someone else. Then ask yourself, once you catch it, okay, what's coming up for me? Well, let's say it's anger. You identified that there's some anger coming up for you. Okay, well, what's causing the anger is another question. So this is how you can self-dialogue with yourself. Okay, what's causing the anger? Oh, it's not being understood, not feeling heard, seen, not being treated fairly, fear of not receiving the outcome that you're desiring. So this is an example of, if you ask yourself this question, go deeper into the feelings. Well, okay, what is it? What is it that I'm feeling? Drop that bucket. What is it that I'm feeling? Okay, so what's the anger about, or what's the fear about? Whatever the core emotion that you first come to is, then go underneath it. Well, what's underneath that? Well, what's making me feel that way? That's when you'll get to, oh, I feel like I'm not being understood. I'm not being heard. I'm not being seen. So you'll get to a wound or a core belief that then you can work with. Okay, you can work on awareness as the first step in unraveling, and then we can sit with it. We can alchemize it. You can see someone for support. You can see me for support. You can see the other. We have lots of other beautiful practitioners here that can support you through these types of things as well. We do a lot of belief work, a lot of healing of wounds, because it's really all about spiritual evolution and wellness is what we do here. So if you need support, definitely seek it. Sometimes these things are better to do with somebody else helping you, supporting you through it. There's something called the 4 mirrors, and I just want to briefly mention the first 2. So I just talked about, if you're blaming someone and someone's triggering you, there's a mirror there. There's something for you to learn, in other words. So there's something called the mirror of the moment, and that's what you are. It's reflecting back to you what you are. So you're triggered by something someone's doing because that's what you do. That's what you are. Okay. And it's still a shadow, so you don't realize it yet. So sometimes there's a little resistance when there's a shadow because you have no idea that you're doing these behaviors in the mirror of the moment. So take a minute if you're triggered and ask yourself, objectively, and it might take you a couple days even, because it's unconscious, it's a shadow. Is that something I'm doing? The next mirror is the mirror of judgment. So when you're judging someone else, that's when you're upset or triggered about somebody, and it's not because it's a mirror of the moment. It may be because you're judging that behavior. So you have this judgment about that behavior, that person, which is something about the way they're behaving. So look at that, because we also want to eliminate judgments, right? It can also be a childhood wound pattern recircling in addition to these mirrors, and the mirrors can reflect that as well. So again, remembering that these things will loop and circle until we get the lesson that it's trying to teach you. And ultimately, this process is breaking through the shadows or the ego aspects that are not serving you. And this is all in order to what? Uncover your soul self. And that way, then you can move forward and toward what you're here to do. And that can just be, it might be that you're here to just make somebody else's life better by being kind or being peaceful or evolving yourself. Evolving yourself, changing yourself is one of the most powerful ways to be of service. And it's one of the most impactful ways. So if you did nothing else but did your own evolution and growth, you would be greatly impacting humanity and being of service in such a huge way and profound way. So again, that might be the only thing you ever need to do. And that might be why you're here. Okay. And it might also be very simple as just making people's day better everywhere you go. It might not be this whole long big thing, right? And people sometimes have multiple things that they're here to do. But uncovering, breaking through these shadow ego aspects that aren't serving you will uncover that. So that's kind of the journey, right? To uncover that. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is one of my favorite books is Autobiography of a Yogi, probably my favorite book, the most life-changing book for me. Something in there that I think is very powerful. What he says is, the hard core of egotism is difficult to dislodge except rudely. I want to say that again. The hard core of egotism is difficult to dislodge except rudely. Meaning this can be incredibly painful as these parts of you are dislodged and they die or they dissolve. And the alchemy of life is offering you this. So allow it to be, because on the other side of this challenging part where it's like there are these pieces of you that are getting dislodged, and it's jarring sometimes, it's painful sometimes. And it feels like you're dying at times because parts of you are dying for some of you, right? And so allow the alchemy of life is offering you this opportunity. Allow it to happen, because guess what? The other side of that is freedom, joy, lightness, peacefulness, and really the life that you truly want. So if you allow this process to unfold, you're going to be getting this joy, freedom, lightness, the life that you're desiring. While I was asking for guidance about this podcast episode, a song came up, and I actually got emotional as I heard the lyrics in my head, and I just want to share some of the lyrics with you. I feel like this is going to be relevant to several of you. It's by Amos Lee, and it's called Hang On. And he's talking about, like, we never left you. I'm talking about like your guides, God, the divine, your spirit guides, the angelics, whatever your belief system is, like the divine, that part, the universe, whatever word you want to use. That's how I'm relating this to God, divine, guides, angels that might help you if you're feeling pain. Remember too, I want to remind you that it's always darkest before the dawn. And so this song by Amos Lee called Hang On was playing in my head, and I was guided to share these lyrics with you. We never left you. We never left you that day, even though we felt far away. Couldn't hold you, but you didn't want to be held anyway. So hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on, because you already come so far alone. We never failed you, even though it might have felt that way. We never left you. It hurt to see you in so much pain. And I would have stayed there forever, but it didn't work out that way. So hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on. When morning comes, you won't be here alone. So I feel like if you have a moment to pull that song up and listen in its entirety, it's just a very beautiful song. And I think it's very relevant if we look at it through the lens of it being from our guides, our spirit team, the divine God. I think a lot of us can relate to that. So again, the alchemy of life is trying to dislodge your ego and get you to move in the direction of your soul's calling and remember who you are, right? So for some people, it's about them getting unstuck from materialism of the world, or getting unstuck from being wrapped up in social media or overstimulation with televisions and social media and all these types of electronics. And the same thing with taking care of your body. And the last time we spoke about the hierarchy of needs, you have to care for your physical body first. And that's including like high vibrational foods and drinks, including structured water. By the way, we're going to start selling structured water bottles here. Structured water is water that's structured to have a really high vibrational energy. And there's all kinds of research about structured water that you can look up. And these water bottles do that with crystals and other things. So we're going to start selling those here at the center. So definitely let me know if you're interested. They're very beautiful as well. We'll be here at the end of the week. So that will help to aid your body's healing process if you drink structured water, and then of course the high vibrational foods, and really taking good care of your body in all ways. So the alchemy of life is part of what we are experiencing. And so the more of this we clear away, and what happens is the more of this we clear away, the less that we're faced with as often, right? So I'm not talking about we're going to just be suffering. This is all about like, yeah, use the alchemy of life. It's suffering after suffering. Like, it's not like that. You know, as you start to use the alchemy of life and you address it as it comes up, what happens is you're faced with these triggers and these things a lot less frequently, and more peace, joy, ease, happiness you'll feel in between, right? So you're going to have more and more and more of that, and less and less and less of the triggers. And so the fastest route to getting more peace, love, joy, happiness, bliss is to deal with these triggers as they come up and move through them quicker by just being aware and dealing with them so they don't loop, right? Because then in between, you've got all this peace, love, and joy and lightness because you've cleared so much. You've cleared it. You've allowed the alchemy of life to show you what you need to clear away, what's not serving you. And then you're uncovering more of your soul self, your heart center, that part of you that is pure love. And that's why then you have access to these beautiful high frequency emotions: joy, love, peace, ease, lightness. So please don't resist. Just allow, let go. You are being divinely guided. What is meant for you will come to you on its own. Again, what is meant for you will come to you on its own. And lastly, do things to raise your vibration. In addition to food and drink and exercise for your physical, energy healing helps. Somatic release and belief work helps. Releasing limiting beliefs is what I mean by that. And again, we all do that here at the center. So don't be afraid to seek support. It can help you move through it faster and with greater ease. Things like gratitude lists and practicing the law of attraction also can be very helpful. It can raise your frequency and it can help lift you out of the mud, so to speak, and focus on the things that you want to create and bring into your life. So even while you're doing this alchemy of life, especially while you're doing this alchemy of life, and really paying attention to what shadows are coming up and what things that you're needing to dislodge and allow to dissolve, you know, do some of these positive practices. The gratitude lists literally do change the way that you look at the world, of the wiring of your brain. Focusing on what you want to create, bring into your life is doing the same thing. It's raising your frequency. So again, increasing your love, peace, joy, happiness. I want you to understand that being the alchemist is crucial, but it is not about focusing on negative emotions or going so deeply into what these emotions are that you become stuck. Okay. So these are just tools so that when something arises, you can deal with it and you can be the alchemist. You can allow it to transform you. But then in between, be light, be joyful, focus on love and service and what you want to experience in life. Okay. So this isn't to get you to wallow and go so deeply or to get stuck. It's to allow the pain that might come up, the triggers that might come up, to be there's several examples of this. Some people call it fruitful darkness. So when you're in this deep darkness, these dark emotions, there's fruit that's bearing, you just can't see yet. And another example would be the lotus that grows in mud, right? there's a transformation. The lotus is able to take that mud and use it as fertilizer to grow into this beautiful flower. And another example I've used in other episodes is about how the seedling has to be covered in darkness, and then it breaks open, and then it has to work its way to the light and break through the surface to find the light, right? So those are all kind of like analogies to what we're doing. So when you feel depressed or sad, do something kind for someone else is another thing I wanted to add. Being of service brings more happiness and it raises your frequency. So if you're having a day where you're feeling depressed or you're feeling a little stuck, see if you can do something to be kind and loving to someone else and do something of service. And remember that it is in giving that we receive, and service to one another is love in action. So that wraps up episode 4 on season 2. And I have so enjoyed connecting with you today. So let's take a moment to close. If it's possible for you to close your eyes, go ahead and close your eyes. Take a couple deep breaths. Feel your heart center. See if you can allow the heart center to open a little more fully and expand. Allow more light to pour into the heart center, front and back. Allow the healing of the heart center, the clearing to happen. Allow more love to pour into your whole body, through the top of your head, through your open crown, all the way through your body, out your palms, out your feet. Filling up with love, with light, with peace. I have so enjoyed connecting with you today, and I will so look forward to the next time. Bye for now.